Little girl's heartfelt plea for fever medicine revealed to a millionaire, leading to an amazing transformation. In the quaint streets of Maplewood, where every porch light flickered with warmth, 10-year-old Lily sat curled up on the couch. A fever raged through her small frame, sending chills across her body. The home was quiet except for the sound of her mother Sarah rummaging through their empty cabinets. With each empty drawer, the weight on Sarah's shoulders grew heavier. She had worked back-to-back shifts at the diner and the supermarket, but funds were low, and their supplies were dwindling. The desperate look in Lily's bright eyes broke Sarah's heart. As if sensing her mother's despair, Lily's mind whirled. Before long, she grabbed a pen and paper. The words flowed from her young heart, "Dear whoever finds this, I'm scared. I need medicine for my fever. I wish I could help my mom more. We are trying our best, but please." This simple plea landed in an unexpected place, the hands of Robert, a millionaire who had grown up right here in their tight-knit town. He had distanced himself from Maplewood's troubles, surrounded by luxury and ease. Yet, as he read Lily's letter, nostalgia washed over him. Memories of laughter and community rushed back. The girl's innocent spirit tugged at something deep inside him. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Determined to do good, Robert gathered his thoughts and organized a fundraiser for families in need. But he underestimated the town's sentiments. Faces that once smiled at him turned skeptical as he faced their past rejection. What does he know about hard times? They whispered. He hadn't walked their struggles. Meanwhile, Sarah, brave but weary, confronted Robert at a heated town hall meeting. Her heart trembled as she challenged him, "You think you can just swoop in and save us? What does it mean to be truly wealthy?" The air crackled with raw emotion. Stories of sacrifice poured out not just from her but from neighbors who'd kept their heads up through storms. As the meeting erupted into passionate debates, Lily noticed the tension. She saw the flickers of unity sparking amidst the chaos. Just as hope seemed to run thin, a shocking revelation from the past sent ripples through the community, challenging Robert and Sarah in a way they never expected. Both were forced to confront their definitions of family, love, and the very nature of community itself. With hearts pounding in a chorus of resolve, the town stood at a crossroads, where deep connections threatened to be rewoven. In the face of fear, Lily's letter wasn't just a call for help, it had become a symbol of hope, urging everyone to break down the walls that separated them. As the stakes grew higher, questions loomed over the horizon. How far could Robert reach into his past? What sacrifices must Sarah make to protect her family while embracing change? The tension gripped them, like the first blush of dawn readying itself against the night. In the days that followed the town hall meeting, the air in Maplewood buzzed with a mix of hope and suspicion. Rumors spread like wildfire, and whispered opinions floated around every corner. People were torn between believing in Robert's intentions and clinging to their scars from the past. Sarah spent her days in a fog, struggling to focus at work, her mind replaying the confrontation with Robert. The fire in her heart ignited each time she recalled his expression, part regret, part determination. But could he truly bridge the gap that stood between them? Meanwhile, Robert was driven by the need to prove himself. He pored over old town records and stories of his youth, seeking to understand the roots that had formed this community. He even returned to the old playground where he laughed and played, brushing his hand against rusted swings that had long been abandoned. With every step, nostalgia matting with guilt filled his chest. He recalled how he left these streets for a life far removed from struggle, and now he felt an urgent need to reconnect. In the heart of it all, Lily watched. She could sense the rising tensions that swirled like the wisps of steam from her mom's morning coffee. Her small world felt from every angle like a giant puzzle with missing pieces. Driven by the surge of unexpected responsibility, she clutched her paper and pencil again and penned another letter, this time addressed not to a stranger but directly to those watching her heartfelt plea unfold. "Dear friends and neighbors, I see the worry in your faces," she began, her little heart racing as she felt the weight of her words. "We all need each other, more than ever. Let us not turn our backs, we can make Maplewood better together." That evening, her father, who had been largely silent since losing his job, found her sitting cross-legged on the floor. He read over her shoulder, his eyes widening with pride and a hint of something else, a hint of hope. Without a word, he picked up his phone and began calling neighbors, sharing Lily's message, igniting small fires of resolve in people who had felt extinguished. As the sun dipped below the Maplewood horizon, casting a golden light across the town, Robert received an unexpected invitation. A group of residents wanted to meet him, not to chastise or reject, but to talk. It would be a potluck gathering, a gathering to share stories and struggles alike, to open the door for healing. Lily, unknowingly, had triggered something powerful and unifying. The promise of coming together pulled the citizens out of their self-imposed isolations. That evening, as tables filled with home-cooked meals began to line the street, Robert arrived, nerves tying his stomach in knots. He scanned the gathering crowd, heart pounding as skeptical eyes turned towards him. He was ready to plead his case, to bring something meaningful to their lives. But would they listen? Would they allow him to step back into their lives? As the first timid smiles broke through the clouds of doubt and suspicion, hope glimmered like stars in a darkened sky. But even as he took a step forward, he realized that this was just the beginning. The moment of truth had arrived for both Robert and the community, and it was clear they would each face a reckoning. What would it take for them to truly understand one another, to forge bonds strong enough to heal their wounds? Could Lily's innocent plea be the catalyst that sparked real change? A new chapter awaited, full of twists and emotions that would either bring them closer or drive them apart. What awaited them, the reckoning or redemption? The potluck began with a hesitant energy. Robert positioned himself at the end of the long table, stealing glances at faces he remembered, all patched with stories, all shadowed by pain. He inhaled the warm, rich aromas of homemade dishes, each one unique, much like the people gathered there. This was their first moment to see him again, the boy who left, now a man returned. As he prepared to speak, Lily's bright, hopeful face caught his eye. She was surrounded by other children, her tiny hands animatedly gesturing, as she animatedly shared her thoughts. In that moment, he felt the weight of urgency. He took a deep breath, willing himself to harness the courage he felt bubbling inside. When Robert finally stood up, a hush fell over the crowd. Their eyes were wary, some filled with resentment, others flickering with curiosity. He cleared his throat, the knot in his stomach tightening. "Thank you all for being here," he began, his voice quivering slightly. "I know my return has stirred many feelings. I can't change the past, the hurt that my leaving caused. But I want to be part of the future, a future where we can grow together." At that moment, a hush fell over the gathering. Murmurs of agreement and disbelief mingled in the air. It wasn't easy to forgive, to forget the years gone by, but there was something about Robert's earnestness that penetrated their barriers. He continued, "I believe Maplewood can heal, and I want to help." Just then, a booming voice interrupted him. It belonged to Mr. Henderson, one of the town's oldest residents. "We remember you, Robert. You left us, remember? You can't just waltz back in and expect everything to be fine. Trust isn't given, it's earned," he declared, the weight of years adding gravity to his words. The air grew heavier, the tension almost tangible, but Robert pressed on. "I know I have a lot to prove. And I will. I've returned not just to help this town grow financially, but to give back in ways that matter. We must learn to work together again." His heart raced as he felt the eyes upon him, still wary, still judging. Suddenly, Lily pulled at her father's sleeve, her small voice cutting through the unease. "Dad, I think he means it." Her innocence hung in the air like a fragile butterfly, and for a moment, people murmured in sympathy. Robert found strength in her simplicity. The crowd shifted, uncertainty and whispers dulled by the sincerity of the little girl's faith. Maybe he's right, someone offered hesitantly, emboldened by Lily's words. We need to find a way to rebuild. One by one, others began to speak up, sharing their hopes and fears. The stories flowed like the dishes laid before them, each one as diverse and deep as the history they shared. Soon, voices that had once been filled with bitterness transformed into chords of understanding. As the night grew older, the atmosphere slowly lightened. A few people approached Robert, extending olive branches of conversation, each one willing to take a step towards healing. He smiled, grateful for their courage. Just as he thought they were finding common ground, a loud crash resounded through the night, the sound of a heavy object toppling over, reverberating off the quiet street. Everyone turned, startled. A commotion erupted. With his heart pounding, Robert rushed toward the source, fear gripping him tight. Something had broken, but was it the truce that had just been formed, or was it an element of something greater, a trial yet to face? As lights flickered and people gasped, he felt a storm brewing. Could this gathering still thrive, or were they about to face a test that would push them further apart than before? Robert burst through the crowd, dread sinking into his bones. As he reached the corner of the long table, his eyes locked onto the scene unfolding in front of him. A stack of plates had toppled over, sent flying by a frenzied dog that had dashed through the gathering. The animal, wilder than Robin's imagination, howled in dismay as its owner scrambled behind it, shouting apologies. Lily stood frozen, her hands hovering in front of her anxious little body, eyes wide as saucers. As Robert approached, he noticed tears welling up in her beautiful, bright eyes. His heart twisted. If that innocent face could feel such swift waves of panic, perhaps so could the others surrounding them. Easy there, everyone. Robert called out, raising his hands, trying to ease the sudden tension. It's just a dog. The crowd looked at him, confused. He took a deep breath, scanning for any sign of danger. There was none. The plates were shattered, but the spirits didn't have to be EDMR. Henderson came over, a sharp look darting towards Robert. You're saying it's just a dog, but people are on edge. You need to figure out how to repair what's broken, all of it, he said, the old man's patience fraying. I know, Robert said, his tone steadying. But we can't let something like this tear us apart. There's fear here, we're all feeling it. He turned back to the crowd. But we can also feel hope. Let us stick together. Lily, sensing the moment, ran up to him, her tiny hands gripping the hem of his shirt. If we all just talk. Maybe we can fix the dog and the plates and everything else too. Her boldness sparked a few reluctant chuckles. The shared laughter was a welcoming wave, softening the frowns around him. Was it really that simple? Could a child's plea genuinely bind them all together? An older woman named Mrs. Thompson, who had remained silent thus far, stepped forward. Lily's right. We need to work together. Enough families have suffered isolation because of old wounds. Robert felt a glimmer of unity as one by one people began to chime in, sharing their stories, their laughter. As voices blended, even Mr. Henderson cracked a slight smile. It was a picture of the unexpected community rising from the ashes of misunderstanding. Then, just as the air lightened, Robert's phone buzzed in his pocket, a sharp reminder of what he had left unfinished. He glanced at the notification, eyes widening. In a town meeting, an urgent issue regarding the old mill had resurfaced. His heart sank. The mill was the prime source of familiar memories for him, a broken part of Maplewood that needed tending. If he didn't act now, the town risked losing even more of its spirit, and that would mean more than plates and conversations. Excuse me, everyone, he called, urgency seeping into his voice, I just got a message about something important. I want us to continue this. Let me meet with you all again tomorrow morning. Maybe at the mill. He expected resistance, but instead was met with nods of agreement. Hope expanded like a balloon inside him, filling the space that had once been weighed down with uncertainty. As they began to disperse, Lily tugged at his sleeve again. You think we can make them see?" she asked, curiosity dancing in her eyes. Robert knelt to her level, his heart racing. "Yes, but it will take time and courage. A lot of it. But I know we can," she insisted, her belief almost contagious. His faith in her only swelled, but then he remembered the weight of the message still buzzing on his phone, and the trouble awaiting him at the mill. Could he really bring the townspeople together, or was this merely a fleeting hopeful moment? As he turned to leave, he spotted Mr. Henderson watching him, that knowing gaze still fixed. The older man's smile had faded, leaving behind a question. Was he really ready to follow through on every promise? Tomorrow would bring more than just discussions at the mill, it would require strength, honesty, and a fight for their future. Could they truly rise together, or was the past too heavy to bear? With that thought threading through his mind, he stepped away, feeling the air thick with uncertainty. Would the fragile threads of unity hold when the real tests began? Robert awoke the next morning, the sunlight streaming through his bedroom window, casting golden patterns across the floor. But instead of warmth, an uneasy chill settled in his stomach. Today wasn't just another day, it held promises that could shake Maplewood to its core. His phone vibrated on the bedside table as he gathered his thoughts. The message from the town hall confirmed what he feared: the mill was set to be auctioned off next week unless a financial solution could be found. His mind raced. How could he even begin to rally the town when they spent so long at odds with one another? Was he prepared to be the voice that stood up for their heritage, their shared memories? He got out of bed, his reflection in the mirror revealing the shadows of doubt beneath his eyes. As he dressed, he reminded himself of Lily's words. Hope and courage. Simple yet powerful. When he arrived at the mill, the air buzzed with anxiety. The building loomed before him, its weathered walls telling stories of Maplewood's past. The sun glinted off the old machinery, reminding him of childhood days spent exploring its secrets. He drew in a deep breath, feeling the weight of nostalgia and responsibility. People began to trickle in, their expressions a mix of curiosity and apprehension. He spotted Lily, her small figure bouncing with excitement as she clutched a handmade sign that read, "Save our mill." It brought a smile to his face, as if she was the thread that could weave everyone's fears into a tapestry of change. "Look, Robert!" she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling. "They're all here for the mill." Indeed, the parking lot filled with familiar faces, families bearing their kids, old couples with hands linked, the young adults he used to play catch with in the very fields behind the mill. Each face held a glimmer of hope, yet Robert could sense the underlying doubt. The past had a way of lingering in the air like smoke, refusing to dissipate. "Thank you all for coming," he started, feeling the weight of their gazes and the responsibility of leadership. "I know times have been tough." He paused, searching for words that would resonate. "But this mill isn't just a building, it's a piece of our history. It's where we learn to dream. It belongs to all of us." Lily nodded vigorously, her tiny hand raised. "And it can be a place of fun again. With everyone working together." The crowd hummed with applause, but Robert noticed a few frowns. Mr. Henderson stood at the edge, eyebrows furrowed in skepticism. "And what's your plan, Robert? Words alone won't save it." Robert felt the heat of challenge rise in him. "You're right, Mr. Henderson. We need action. What if we set up a fundraiser? We can share our stories, our love for this town, and open our hearts to anyone who has a stake in Maplewood." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Hope danced in the air, but it wasn't enough. They would need funds and mobilization. "Everyone here has skills," he continued, voice steady. "Let's organize. Painting, baking, storytelling, we can do something together." Excitement began to build, but then Robert noticed a small boy clutching a worn-out baseball glove amid the enthusiastic chatter. He was looking at the mill with wide, innocent eyes that mirrored a past Robert had cherished. The boy reminded him of a time when things felt simple and safe. A whisper of realization washed over him. "First, let us share stories of what this mill means to us. He pointed to the boy. "Can anyone tell me why it matters?" The boy stepped forward, shaking with shyness. "My dad said he used to work here. It's where he helped make the town grow." Nods of agreement rippled through the crowd. In that moment, Robert recognized the bridge being built, a gathering of memories, voices, and a collective heartbeat. As they began to share, laughter and nostalgia intertwined, fueling their resolve. But beneath the surface, doubt lingered. Would this fragile wave of unity withstand the trials ahead? Could they truly reclaim what lay on the verge of being lost? Just then, an unexpected rumble echoed from the entrance, shifting the energy of the gathering. Everyone turned to see a sleek car glide to a stop outside the mill. An unfamiliar figure stepped out, eyes scanning the crowd. The tension prickled as curiosity swirled. Who was this newcomer, and what did they want? With a racing heart, Robert sensed that this was only the beginning of what lay ahead, a challenge that could either unite them or fracture them anew. The figure that emerged from the car was a sharply dressed woman, her confident strides cutting through the lingering chatter of the crowd. She wore dark sunglasses that shielded her gaze, but Robert could feel the weight of her scrutiny as she approached the mill. The air shifted again, thickening with uncertainty. "Morris Latham," she declared, pulling off her sunglasses. The sun glinted off her designer attire, which contrasted sharply with the rustic charm of the mill and its community. "I represent the potential buyers interested in this property." Whispers filled the crowd. Robert's heart sank. It was happening too fast. Their fight for the mill was already under the scrutiny of someone who might not care about the stories, only the numbers. "Now, I know this mill has deep roots," Morris continued, her voice clear and assertive. "But I'm here to negotiate. I can assure you my investors have plans for an upscale development. Think of the jobs, the revenue. You could all benefit." Robert felt a surge of anger and protectiveness for the very land that had nurtured their lives. "Jobs cannot replace history." He fired back, his voice cutting through her corporate facade. "You can't just tear it down because it doesn't fit your vision of progress." Morris raised an eyebrow, clearly unfazed. "And what is your vision, Robert? A fundraiser? Some nostalgic stories? That one save this mill from the inevitable? It's just a building." The crowd held its breath. Tension hung thick, yet Robert could sense a flicker of resolve kindling within them. This was their moment to stand firm. "No," he replied, his voice steady. "What we're trying to save is the heart of Maplewood. This mill holds our memories, our childhood dreams, our hopes. We deserve to have a say in what happens to it." Morris smirked, her confidence unyielding. "I admire your passion, truly. But without funds, your plans are meaningless." Lily, who had been quietly observing, suddenly pushed her way to the front, her small voice piercing the tension. What if we had a contest? A competition to see who can come up with the best idea for using the mill? We could show you that it can be something special." Gasps stirred in the crowd, and Robert's heart swelled with pride for her creativity. A contest could indeed draw attention. Morris observed the little girl as if evaluating an intriguing puzzle. "An interesting proposition," she said, tilting her head slightly. "But if I don't see results, this property will go to the highest bidder regardless. You have 5 days." The crowd erupted in chatter, excitement rippling through them, with hope and determination transforming their doubts into a collective energy. They had a chance to prove the mill was worth saving. 5 days to save a piece of our past," Robert echoed, feeling the weight of responsibility settle firmly on his shoulders. "If we can show that the mill matters, to us and to you, maybe it can become more than just a number on a balance sheet." Morris stepped back, slipping her sunglasses back on, and began walking towards her car. "I'll be watching. Good luck." As she drove away, a spark ignited within the crowd. The flame of unity was rekindled. They began brainstorming ideas, voices overlapping in enthusiasm, ideas bouncing like fireflies in the night. Robert's heart raced, the hope palpable this was a chance to shape their legacy, but in the midst of the excitement, Robert couldn't shake the feeling that more than just the mill was at stake, a deeper struggle loomed. Could they truly align their disparate ideas to form something powerful enough to capture the town's spirit? And who would make the ultimate decision about the mill once the dust settled? As dusk fell, casting shadows over the gathering, Robert looked back at the mill and felt a surge of determination. Time was short, and every moment counted. What would the residents of Maplewood create to save their heritage, and could they truly convince Morris that the heart of their town was worth more than profit? The countdown had begun. The next day brought a crisp autumn breeze that seemed to sweep through Maplewood like a harbinger of change. As Robert arrived at the mill, he found a small army of townsfolk already gathered, their chatter filled with excitement and determination. Children dashed around, while adults strategized under the sprawling branches of an old oak. Robert took a deep breath, soaking in the atmosphere. The once distant chance of saving the mill felt palpable now, as if the very walls were urging them to rise. He spotted Lily sitting cross-legged on the grass, sketching a design on a piece of paper. Intrigued, he moved closer. "What are you up to?" he asked, crouching beside her. "I'm drawing my idea," she exclaimed, eyes shining. "What if we turn the mill into a community center? We could have events, classes, and art shows." Robert smiled warmly, the child's creativity igniting a spark within him. "That's a fantastic idea, Lily. We can share it during the contest. But we need more than just ideas, we need to show that the mill will benefit everyone." As Lily nodded eagerly, the crowd began to gather around them, curious about what they could create together. Robert stepped to the front, driven by their faces filled with hope. "Okay, everyone. We need to brainstorm more ideas. What does our community want? Let's think outside the box and make this mill a centerpiece of Maplewood again." Voices rose in excitement, different suggestions pouring in: a farmer's market, a creative workshop space, a cafe that served local produce. Each idea was met with enthusiasm that felt contagious. Robert's heart soared with each proposal. The mill could truly become a hub for revitalizing their town, yet, amidst the excitement, Robert felt a twinge of anxiety. What if their ideas weren't compelling enough? What if it all fell apart under the pressure of time? "Can we also get the school involved?" a voice called out from the sidelines. It was Mr. Thompson, the local teacher. The kids could contribute art for the center. They could share their vision, too. Perfect. Robert beamed. "Let's involve the schools and reach out to artists in the community. We'll have everyone create something that expresses what the mill means to them." As they worked through the day, exhaustion set in, but so did a sense of unity and purpose that wrapped around them like a warm blanket. The sun began to set, painting the horizon in striking shades of orange and pink, and Robert felt a surge of hope. Perhaps they could truly pull this off. As they packed up for the day, a sense of anticipation hung in the air. The contest wasn't just about saving the mill, it was about reviving the spirit of Maplewood itself. But Robert also remembered Morris's warning. 5 days felt like a ticking clock in the back of his mind. As he prepared to leave, a figure approached him from the edge of the gathering. It was a familiar face: Anna, who had stepped back from town meetings after her family's rough financial year. But today she looked different, determined. "I want to help," she said, a spark of excitement in her eyes. "Maybe I can coordinate with others to create a video capturing everyone's ideas." Robert smiled, the weight of responsibility shifting slightly. "That would be incredible. Let's showcase our community's heart." But just as he felt the momentum growing, a thought gripped him: could this newfound hope withstand the looming pressure of Morris's investors? With a final glance at the mill illuminated against the twilight, Robert felt both fear and determination collide within him. Would their collective efforts truly be enough to sway the potential buyers, or were they merely racing against time? The next few days would tell the story. The following morning, the air in Maplewood felt electric with possibility. As Robert arrived at the mill, he could see the framed sketches from the kids proudly displayed against the old wood of the mill's walls. Each drawing captured a wish, an aspiration for a place that meant so much to their community. Lily's artwork was there too, vibrant and colorful, and Robert couldn't help but feel a swell of pride. It was like the children carved hope into paper, ensuring that everyone could see it. "Look! Look at all this!" Lily shouted, waving him over. "This is our vision." As he stepped closer, he noticed the depth of emotion in the children's expressions. There was a mix of innocence and fierce determination. It was contagious, and Robert felt the weight of their dreams pressing into his chest. "All right, everyone, gather around," he called, hoping to harness that energy. Over the next few hours, they organized each sketch, and soon the mill was transformed into a gallery of hope and determination. "Let's make a plan to showcase this at the contest," Robert suggested. "We'll frame each piece to tell a story." Nods of agreement came from every side. Robert felt empowered, their combined strength revitalizing his purpose. As they worked, he spotted Anna setting up a camera on a tripod. She was ready to capture the moment. "Are we ready?" she asked, meeting his gaze as the gathered crowd simmered with anticipation. Before Robert could respond, a sudden hush fell over the crowd. A sleek black car rolled into view, its tires crunching gravel as it came to a stop near the entrance of the mill. Everyone turned. The curiosity spread rapidly, and Robert's heart dropped. He recognized the car. It belonged to Morris's firm. As the passenger door swung open, out stepped a well-dressed man in a tailored suit. He scanned the gathering, his expression unreadable. "What is going on here?" he called out, striding towards Robert, his voice sharp and commanding. Robert's gut tightened. "We're saving the mill," he replied, fighting to keep his voice steady. "This community deserves a place that brings people together." The man raised an eyebrow. "And what makes you think a few drawings will stir interest from my clients?" Robert stood taller. "We're showing them our heart. This mill means so much to us. It represents hope and unity. More than just a business, it's a part of our community's story." The man regarded him for a long moment, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. Robert could feel the scrutiny of the townsfolk, a collective breath held in anticipation. "I'm not interested in sentiment," the man replied, arms crossing. "But others might be." Before Robert could respond, a small hand held up a brightly colored piece of paper, trembling slightly. It was Lily. "Please, mister," she stammered, her voice small but strong, "this mill is like a dream for us. It's where people can come together and share stories. We just want our home back." A wave of silence rippled through the crowd, every eye turning to the little girl. The air was thick with emotion, an unspoken plea hanging between them. Something shifted in the man's expression. Was it a crack of understanding, or merely annoyance? "I'll be in touch," he said curtly, turning back towards the car. Robert watched him go, a clench of urgency tightening in his chest. Gathering up the children, he whispered, "Do you think he understood?" Lily shrugged, but her scintillating smile indicated hope still stayed in her heart. All around, a curious buzz filled the air as people speculated about the previous visitor. Days were slipping away, and so much was on the line. Robert turned to his community around him and felt a surge of renewed strength. They had shown their hearts. But would it be enough? A looming question pressed on him: was their small town worth the investment, or would Morris's investors dismiss it as just another fleeting dream? Tomorrow held promises, yet uncertainty crackled like autumn leaves in the wind. They would have to be ready. With hope filling his lungs, Robert said softly into the gathering, "We need to prepare our best pitch yet." Could they truly resonate with those who held their future in their hands? The days ahead would decide. The sun rose the next morning with a vibrant glow, illuminating Maplewood and casting long shadows that danced across the mill's weathered facade. Robert stood in front of the sketches, feeling their warmth, their colors bursting with life and hope. But beneath that optimism lay a gnawing anxiety. Time was ticking. All right, everyone, gather up. He clapped his hands, summoning the children and their families. The mood had to shift from hopeful dreams to tactical action. We have a big day ahead. We're going to strengthen our pitch. The kids' eyes sparkled with excitement, and Robert noticed those with paint-stained fingers were bursting with energy. What are the key points we want to share? He asked, kneeling so he could meet their eager faces. Community, shouted one boy, his blonde hair bouncing with enthusiasm. Creativity, said a little girl, twirling in her bright dress. Togetherness, chimed in Lily, her eyes shining. Robert jotted down their contributions, crafting a big picture from their bright thoughts. But deep inside, he worried. Would it be enough? He could almost hear the echoes of the man in the suit, dismissing their heartfelt efforts. Moments later, the old wooden doors swung open, revealing familiar faces, neighbors, friends, anyone who had been touched by the Mill's legacy. Robert felt a wave of comfort wash over him. Together, they could create something powerful. Anna arrived just in time, her camera ready to capture the brainstorming session. Let us show the world who we truly are, she encouraged. Let us share your passions. As they organized the sketches, Robert mingled with the community. He listened to anecdotes, stories of laughter and shared meals in the mill. Every story was a thread woven into the fabric of Maplewood. The more he heard, the more he knew they could convey that heart to the businessmen. Don't forget about our mill's history. An elderly man spoke up, his voice weathered but strong. It started as a gathering place. We built it with our hands and lives. Yes, Robert exclaimed, feeling a spark of inspiration. That's part of it. The history is alive and so are the people. The mill is a part of us. The atmosphere shifted, energy buzzed in the air. They were a team, understanding how vital this place was to every one of them. Just as they began solidifying their plan, a messenger arrived at the door. The crowd hushed as he stepped inside, holding an envelope that seemed to carry the weight of their future. A letter from Morris's firm, he announced, eyes scanning the faces around him. Robert's heart raced. Would it contain a decision? Maybe an offer? Cautiously, the man opened it and read aloud. We would like to schedule a meeting to review your proposal. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Hope, uncertainty, and excitement danced in the air. Tomorrow at noon. The messenger added. Be prepared. Robert's pulse raced. They only had a day to finalize everything. This is our chance. He encouraged the group, sensing the surge of anticipation. Everyone, we need to make a strong impression. As they strategized, Robert glanced at Lily, who stood beside him, eyes wide with determination. You did great yesterday, he whispered, kneeling to her level. You're going to be a part of this. Can I paint my heart too? She asked, smiling sweetly. Absolutely, he replied, feeling her spirit intertwine with their collective dream. Together, they had to show that this mill wasn't just the past, it was their future. That night, as Robert lay in bed, he replayed the day's events. A blend of excitement and dread filled the air like a long-anticipated storm. Would their proposal resonate? Would those with the power to change their destiny care about a town's history? Only hours away from their fate, he closed his eyes, but sleep wouldn't come. Visions of the mill being reborn danced in his mind, along with the piercing gaze of the businessmen. What would happen when the moment of truth arrived? Would their dreams be enough? The restless night loomed ahead, promising answers but only uncertainty. The sun broke through the horizon the next day, pouring golden light across Maplewood. The air felt electric, charged with anticipation as Robert stood outside the mill, surrounded by the townsfolk who had become his newfound family. They had spent countless hours crafting their proposal, pouring their souls into sketches, stories, and heartfelt pleas for the mill's future. Today was the day they would share it all. Lily bounced alongside him, her painted heart pinned proudly to her chest. Are you ready, Robert? She asked, her voice a mixture of excitement and nervousness. With you leading the way, I am, he replied, kneeling to her level. He ruffled her hair, his heart buoyed by her innocence and enthusiasm. Looking around, Robert saw familiar faces, smiles of determination and hope reflected back at him. Their collective spirit simmered beneath the surface, waiting for its moment to burst forth. As the hour approached, people gathered inside the mill to finalize their presentation. Robert took a deep breath, letting the mix of emotions wash over him. This was not just about saving a building, it was about preserving their memories, their lives, and their community. The door swung open, and Morris's representative walked in, flanked by a couple of investors. The room fell silent. Robert's heart raced, but he straightened his back and squared his shoulders. The time had come. "Thank you for coming," Robert began, his voice steady despite the tremor in his stomach. "Today, we are more than just residents of Maplewood. We are here to show you what this mill means to us." He glanced at the group, catching Lily's eager smile. "It's a piece of our history, our identity. It's where we laughed, cried, and celebrated life together. This mill has always been a part of us." The investors shifted in their seats, skepticism etched on their faces. Morris remained impassive, arms crossed, but Robert pressed on point. One by one, townsfolk stepped up, sharing personal stories of the mill, the laughter of childhood games, community gatherings, and the sense of unity fostered within those hallowed walls. Each story painted a vivid picture, forging invisible bonds that tugged at the crowd's hearts. Then, it was Lily's turn. She approached the front, clutching her painting. "I drew this for all of you," she said, her small voice rising above the tension. "This isn't just a mill. It's where dreams happen. We can have art shows and birthday parties and even a place for families who don't have enough. It needs to stay." Tears shimmered in her innocent eyes as she spoke, and Robert felt a swell of pride. The room was silent, holding on to her words like a fragile treasure. And then, a murmuring began. Heads nodded, hearts softened. Morris's representative looked back at his colleagues, eyebrows raised in surprise. In that moment, Robert realized something powerful. They weren't just talking about the mill, they were sharing their connection to one another, the shared hopes and dreams that intertwined their lives. Once the presentation concluded, they waited in a fragile silence, the weight of hope pressing heavily on their shoulders. The representative exchanged glances with Morris, both weighing the genuine emotion they had witnessed. Finally, Morris rose, her well-formed business persona slipping, replaced by a flicker of respect. "You've shown us the depth of your community's passion," she said slowly. "It's clear this mill is more than just a building. You have 1 week to come up with a fully developed plan." Gasps filled the room, and a wave of disbelief surged. "There's a possibility to save this mill if you can outline a financial model, address the ideas you've shared, and demonstrate how this community can continue to thrive," Morris finished. Robert blinked back, tears, a radiant smile spreading across his face. "We will do it," he said, his heart swelling with newfound resolve. As the representatives left, the crowd erupted with joy. Shouts of excitement filled the air, and people hugged one another, tears of joy streaming down their faces. They had received a chance, an opportunity they would not take for granted. "We're going to get to work, right now," he declared, the fire of unity roaring stronger than ever. The room buzzed with ideas, laughter mingling with determination as they rallied together around the plans. Robert looked at Lily, her glowing smile reflecting the hope they all shared. In the days that followed, Maplewood transformed into a furnace of creativity and hard work. Families gathered for brainstorming sessions, artists painted murals for the mill, writers sold works to benefit funding initiatives, and local businesses offered supplies and donations for their cause. The little town was alive, united by Lily's simple yet profound message, "We are better together." As the week approached its end, Robert felt a familiar warmth fill his heart. They had created something beautiful, a tapestry of dreams woven through sweat, laughter, and love. They weren't just saving the mill, they were saving each other. On presentation day, the air crackled with excitement and nervous tension. By the time they entered the conference room, every member of the community echoed a resolve that shook the very foundations. "Our dreams aren't just for us," Robert said, standing before the investors. There for the generations to come. This mill is our history and it can be our future. As they shared the detailed plans and creative concepts, Robert saw the weight of their collective spirit in every person present. And as the investors asked questions, a spark of understanding fleeted across their faces. In that moment, Robert knew that the heart of Maplewood wasn't in its buildings or businesses, but in its people, their stories, and their unwavering spirit. Would this be the beginning of a new chapter? Only time would tell, but as he exchanged glances with Lily, he felt a renewed faith in the power of community. They had found their strength, and whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, and that was the victory that truly mattered. Now, dear friends, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you won't miss the next exclusive stories that inspire and uplift. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help others find this remarkable journey. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about the transformative ending of our tale. And remember, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to spread the hope and encouragement. Only true fans understand the importance of backing our community with these actions.